Hey, Eastern Oregon, welcome to this September 27th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. I'm glad you're here. Today I'm flying solo. Uh, 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 Kyle is not here. I'm afraid I have an echo. If I have an echo in the stream, you guys be sure to let me know. But Kyle's under the weather a little bit, and so it's just me and GRH's Elaine LaRochelle is going to be with me here in a few minutes. But for now, I'm just kind of juggling all the balls myself. Benny, who normally is in the control room, he is started school. I know. Can you believe it? Had the how rude to do that. So anyhow, we're kind of juggling this all today, and but I'm glad to be with you. Glad to have Elaine with us here in just a bit. We don't have any sports because the sports guy is not here right now, but he will be doing a show a little bit later on today and continually updating you guys. Are you watching the photos that he puts out there? They're just incredible, the stuff that he's doing along the way. Let's take a look at see what Gabe has for us. Beautiful day out there. I don't know if you saw the sunrise this morning, but it was absolutely gorgeous. Just a beautiful place to live here in Eastern Oregon. And let's see what Gabe has for the weather.
Heading into the day on Tuesday, those high temperatures will be fairly similar to what we saw Monday. Much of us into the upper 80s to lower 90s, although slightly cooler out towards Meacham into the mid 80s, with a few more clouds in the mix, especially out towards the far south, producing a slight chance to see a few storms develop out that way. Otherwise, the remainder of our region will stay dry with more sunshine up towards the north. Heading into the day on Tuesday for La Grande, it looks like this will start out into the upper 40s at the 8 o'clock hour, abundantly clear, beginning with a light easterly wind flow. During the day, those winds pick up, gusting up to 30 miles per hour in spots, bringing in a few more clouds into the mix. Those winds will ignite that temperature up to 90 for a high by the 4 o'clock hour before we see those winds become light and turn to the south for the evening as those clouds are on a bit of an increase, dropping those temperatures into the upper 40s overnight. Clouds thicken up on Wednesday with shower activity showing up later in the evening as highs cool into the lower 80s.
All right. Beautiful day. It's going to be a lot like what it was yesterday. So let me just get right to Elaine. I'll be right back, and we'll have Elaine LaRochelle with us from Grande Hospital. She'll be giving us an update on the massive construction that's going on up the hill there. We'll be right back.
Eastern Oregon's weather can oftentimes seem unpredictable. One minute it'll be raining, then it'll be sunny and wonderful, then snowing and then sunny, then the next it'll be raining cats and dogs, literally. So how do you prepare yourself for such flip-floppy weather? Well, by tuning into EO Live Weather with me, Gabe Curtis, of course, the most accurate weather forecast in all of Eastern Oregon. I'll keep you informed with daily weather updates that can take an in-depth look through the next 7 days. Because if cats and dogs are literally going to fall from the sky, you will want to know. EOA weather right here on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
All right, we're back. Elaine's with us. Turn this volume down here. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you today?
I'm doing good. And man, it is massive. I mean, you're probably just as amazed as everyone else, the amount of equipment and the daunting project that has gone on. Have you ever been involved in something this big before?
Not this big. We've done multiple projects in the past, and they've all been fairly isolated in a particular area. And we've had to move departments before. Big one that did was the ER when we built the new ER, so we had to relocate and kind of squish. But this one's massive, and to get it all organized and keep the hospital running at the same time.
Yeah.
I know it's an impact on traffic. We've had to close Sunset, and that's had to reroute people, and that's an inconvenience. And we're sorry about that, but it is the safest thing for us to do. So yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah. Have you? I mean, are people finding their way? I mean, have you had any?
The first couple of weeks was it's always rough. You're kind of on autopilot when you're going somewhere. Caught myself doing it,
Right. Right. Yeah, me too.
You're on autopilot, and oops, I should have turned back there at 4th Street. But we're being very diligent with the calls to patients, to remind them of their appointments, also reminding them of the different routes. The text messages that go out actually have the map of the reroutes on it.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we're getting all that information out. And when they talk to them, they make sure that we're aware of the different routes. And of course, our biggest concern is to make sure somebody at 3 a.m. gets to the ER.
Right.
And so we've made sure that those are very clear, that when you're coming from the south, you need to turn down at 4th Street.
Right.
And then go over and take N up, because getting to Sunset via coming up Geckler just isn't going to get you to the ER in the time frame you would want to when it's 3 a.m.
Right.
So, so far, we had a few bubbles to start with, and feedback from the community. We changed some signs, and it seems to have worked. So we're totally open to more suggestions if they're out there.
I noticed that there was one of the signs at the top of Spruce that was a permanent sign. I mean, it was, as you progressed in your signage, just like, I mean, that just made, I think it was an electronic sign at first. Yeah.
And they were. And what we noticed is, especially me coming into work, the sun's hitting them, you couldn't read them.
Oh.
Right. So you couldn't really see them if the sun was on them.
Oh, right.
And just getting those permanent signs made reduces the impact on that neighbor that has that sign outside their house.
Yeah.
And it seems to be clearer to read.
Yeah.
We duplicated the normal construction signs and just got that same message on, so you don't have to wait for pages also.
Right.
It was pages that because those reader boards don't hold much.
Right.
So now it's all on one brief glance, and hopefully that's helping people.
Well, and it also kind of says that, hey, it's going to be this way
a while.
Yeah. So kind of where the electronic signs are a little bit like, hey, temporarily you've got to, and like, no, this is probably going to be a year. So.
Yeah, it's actually 2 years.
Okay. So, well, cool. Well, let's take a look real quick at some of the slides, and here, I'm sorry, let me back us up so that we're at the beginning. I forgot to do this before we got started here. All right. Sorry. These are the things that happen when you have a producer in the other room. Okay.
So that's what it all looked like before we started.
Yeah.
The landscaping, the helistop in place, the building behind the maple there. Yeah. That's what we used to look like.
And you guys, I mean, I know this because I have a couple of family members. My wife works there. My daughter works there. You allowed the employees to come and take as many pushes as they wanted. Yeah.
The landscaping was beautiful. It was well established. And so we kind of had just an employee free-for-all day, and families came with shovels and buckets, and I think it was about 75 pickup loads of plants, home people, rock. They were picking up sugar rock down on the road.
Yeah.
And so rather than just dozing that, we repurposed all of that. It's now living in other people's homes.
Well, that's awesome.
And it was, the majority of it was gone. Everything. I mean, people were out there digging up trees down to just tiny little flowers, and everybody had smiles on their face.
Well, those are beautiful. I mean, you're right. The vegetation there was beautiful. Well, so then this is, I don't know what that's what after some of that was cleared off.
Some of that's gone, and we're getting ready to shut Sunset down there. You can see the big equipment coming in. And then this picture is the telestop that was there. Mm-hmm. We salvaged all of the material from it, the big part being the deck, which had a glycol heating tube system in it, so that we could keep it free of ice for gurneys and helicopters. We don't want anybody sliding off.
Right.
But this will all be established back on top of the building when we're done. So the new tower that's going in will have the helistop back on top.
Because all of that, the helistop itself was not that old. I mean,
it was 12 years old.
Really?
Yes. Hard to believe, right? It's been there for 12 years.
Holy smokes. Yeah. It just kind of rolls by. Okay. So you had to reroute foot traffic.
Foot traffic, we did. So there's a lot of traffic that goes on. I think we did a head count one day, about 300 trips, and that was a couple of years ago, so it's probably even more, between our clinics to the south, the regional medical plaza, the dermatology, neurology, the sports rehab. All of those folks come to the hospital either for business purposes. Doctors are coming to deliver babies, surgeons to see their cases, and then lab runs. And so the foot that was there directly in the path of the building, so it had to be rerouted. So we've built what we call the boardwalk.
Okay.
And it started out as a simple trail, and then we went, we have enough, let's put a lid on it. So we did. The guys put a lid on it because we know it's going to be for a while. It's a duration until that new foundation hallway is built. Where the old sidewalk is will actually be way in the interior of the new tower.
Oh.
And so there will be very short that they'll walk outside from that other building.
Once they get done.
Yep. And yeah, you can see there we're getting ready to start with the utilities. The building on the right is still there. It's now gone, but that's getting prep work. All of the utilities for the hospital got touched. We had to move water. We're in the process right now of moving sewer, all of the cable, all of our telephone, our natural gas. I mean, if it was used to run the hospital, it had to be moved. And so that was a lot of the prep work that you've seen for the last couple of months before we started even building the building, was getting all of the utilities out of the way because they came up the hill right in that path.
Wow. So,
and there you can see they're just finishing taking down that building to the left. That you can see a little bit of the building. We're also that canopy where you can see the room is up. We had to relocate some of the air conditioning, the server from that canopy up onto the main room for server for computers.
Wow.
And so that's what they're doing there, is lifting that up.
Okay. This is actually demolition of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's always the fun part. Everybody wanted to go back out to the building. And that building was originally built as a doctor's office next to the original hospital. It was a private doctors had built that just so they'd be right next to the hospital. And then eventually we bought it, and it was a business office for many decades, and then turned into administrative offices. But yeah, it was, like I say, everybody was fighting to who gets to run the track out of this.
Yeah. And then this utilities that
is our new electrical feed. It used to come up the hillside, and now we've rerouted it. OTEC was actually in the process of doing a project to take down some poles on Sunset. So we just married our project with theirs. Poles came down, and the new power feed coming up from the south in the middle of the campus. Hopefully never have to be touched again.
Yeah.
But it was a huge project. Each of those conduits, each has huge feeders for the electrical power coming in to run the existing hospitals. We actually had to do a shutdown of the hospital, normal power, one night at midnight.
Right.
Everybody's in bed. So we turned off, went to generators, and switched over to this new power. So we are now on that new power line.
Wow. So now that
shows where that building is no longer there, and pretty much shows, you can see where the power is at. The Sunset is where the new building will be.
Okay.
It will touch right up against that existing wing, and then we'll do a couple of breaches where we'll put doorways into that from the new tower.
Okay.
And those are what is called soldier piles.
Soldier piles?
Soldier piles. Yes.
Okay.
They are 65 feet deep, 3 feet around. Then we had a large boring drill here, and they were all dug down till they got basically to solid rock. Because I think anybody, if you look at the hill, you can tell it's a slough. And so these went down into solid rock, did a 65-foot hole, put that steel beam in, and then poured it full of concrete. And those steel beams actually have a thermal rod in them, so you can do a thermal image to make sure that the concrete is settled right, no bubbles, that it's curing correctly.
Oh, interesting.
So those go down, and they're going to be what holds that tower on the hill.
Wow.
So we're pretty proud of them. They're essential.
No, and I watched as they were. I mean, that was massive.
It was, and you could tell when they'd hit a rock because it'd be like a changed tone, and it would just kind of drop and drill, and it would hit water a couple times.
Yeah.
Just so it was quite the adventure. They didn't hit any utilities, so we were glad about that.
Yeah.
We were able to move, but it was several weeks of drilling. I think there were 39 soldier piles that went in.
Wow. Now this is the upper project, right? That's
Yes.
the beginning. Yeah.
And so part of what we have to do as a hospital, we always have the ability to function for 96 hours with no input from the outside, water, power, things like that.
Okay.
So our old generator diesel tank was actually in the yard of the building that was torn down.
Okay.
And so we also needed to add a new generator for the new tower. So this project here is moving. We will have a new generator, and we'll have a new tank that has a bigger capacity than our old ground buried, and these will both be above ground. So they're basically excavating into the hill behind the hospital. That green, like referred to as the doghouse, that is actually the exhaust for the generator that is in the ER.
Oh.
And so, but behind that will be the new generator and the new diesel tank to run us in emergencies.
Oh, interesting.
So that's what they're constructing back there, is putting that into the hillside. There you can see how it's just a big retaining wall to help hold that hill back.
Right.
And build the pad to put in the generator and the diesel tank.
Wow.
Unfortunately for us, the supply chain has got our diesel tank somewhere en route. So we hope to have it by now, but we're looking, it's probably a couple of months. We're not quite sure where the delivery date is at. So we have some contingencies put in place. We can still run the 96 hours as required. We've got internal tanks on our diesel generators, and we have a little basically belly tank that we have for reserves, and then the local company is ready to fill us up daily if need be.
Wow.
So that we can still maintain that 96 hours.
Wow. That's impressive. And I think this is
it's more, the soldier piles going across the front. They will be kind of at the edge. So our building has 5 levels, the bottom 2 being not full. They will just be on the toe of the hill from Sunset up, and then the other 3 would go up from there. And so those will be on the edge of the 3 that are full build out all the way straight up.
Right.
Yep.
Well, very cool. And I think that was the last harsh slide. And that, it took me a little bit to figure that out, that they're not 5 full floors. Right. And that's why you're not excavating all of the hill.
Hole. Right. We don't have to have the big hole. And the reason we had to do enough excavating to do this, we needed the soldier piles in regardless. So we've always had issues with trucks trying to get up Sunset. They've come up and had to go up our main drive that's shared with patients and ambulances to unload our supplies. And now the Sunsets, we're building a loading dock off of, they'll just pull off of Sunset and do deliveries down there and not have to come into the patient flow of traffic. So those trucks will just unload and then continue on down Sunset. It'll also be all of our courier traffic will be out of there. We get all of our materials in to the hospital. We distribute them to our clinics.
Right.
So all of that traffic will come out of that base floor down there. Our materials department will be right above it. Again, kind of one of those half floors. So it'll really increase our efficiency to serve our customers, which are our clinics in the area, and keep, again, that heavy traffic out of the patient flow.
I can't imagine what a relief that was for you as those plans were developing to realize that your loading dock was going to be somewhere else.
Yeah, because the original loading dock, they had to go under the east wing, and half the trucks don't fit because trucks are bigger now than when it was originally built.
Right.
They don't fit, or we have a miraculous device that we devised that with trucks backing up would hit and it would clatter to the ground so they wouldn't hit the building, because they used to hit the building all the time because I'll fit, it's 2 inches, I'll be all right. We'd had trucks get under there, unload, and then be too high once they unloaded. So we have to let air out, air out of tires and pull them out. So to have that traffic not impeding both patient and even staff, you'd get parked there and the truck's back. Well, you wait till it's unloaded before you'd leave. Yeah. So all of that will be down in more of a utilitarian area, not have to no patients will be crossing with that. So that'll be great.
So kind of what's the next? So now they have the, what'd you call those
Soldier piles. Yes.
Soldier piles in. Kind of what's the next major development that's
So
happening?
what they're
at the
doing
construction?
right now is each of those soldier piles has what they call a tieback. So they are drilling vertically back into the hill, 120 to 130 feet, and those are kind of guy ties back in
Yeah,
to keep them from leaning forward.
I used to build retaining walls,
Yeah,
landscaping, and
That's exactly
it
what
was a
yeah.
dead man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we call it. Yeah.
So each one has 3. So they're
Okay.
drilling those right
Wow.
now, and they just go back into the hillside. Once those are done, then we'll start working on the foundations.
Wow.
So you'll start seeing all the utilities have been moved. The base shoring is done, so there'll be now just foundation. You'll start seeing that.
Right. Well, and I was peering over the edge, and so all of the utilities from the street there are coming up that. Is there a utility corridor, or is that, or they're already there?
We've got the utility corridor coming up and around the RMP building. Excuse me, the RMP building. Our natural gas right now is coming up and over the east wing. You can actually see the black pipe that's just mounted surface right now.
Yeah.
Eventually, that will come through the new building, and our water. We have actually put in a new line coming from. There's an 8-inch city line that goes behind the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, that's where our water is coming from now, and then we'll reestablish the one that came from Sunset. So we'll actually have dual feed. One dies, we'll have water.
Yeah.
So that'll be an improvement in the future. But those will all be hooked into the new building once it starts getting established.
So how did you prepare? I mean, this is a massive job. I mean, you already had a massive job.
I did. I had a job. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then this construction.
It's actually been really fun because I have always provided an environment for our staff and patients. Make sure the building's warm, make sure the water's running.
Right.
And that's been our goal is to do that. So you didn't see us. Everything was good.
Right.
You didn't have to call
We've
us,
talked
right?
about that. Yeah. It's like the sound man. It's
Yeah.
like if nobody notices him, then you did a good job.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
And so when this project picked up, our goal was to get from the users, what do you need? So we did a lot of site visits to working hospitals. We asked them, what did you like? What did you not like? And we took all that back to the architects. And we also got our construction team on board, Boughton. So we started interviewing staff. We're like, okay, if you had your perfect world, what would you want?
Mm-hmm.
And so we broke it down into need to haves, want to haves. God, that'd be wonderfuls. We've incorporated all of gotta have, almost all the need to haves, and some of the boy, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Into this building. So when it's done, they will have designed it. We just built it.
Mm-hmm.
And so our staff that are going to work in it are the designers. We've just built around their needs. And so should have a very functional building that everybody is bought off on the whole entire design process. And it's been about 8 months of these conversations. I have been doing probably 4 to 6 hours a day in meetings with folks to say, okay, what do you need? And then sometimes we'd have to back them up and say, well, code says you can't really do that. So here's an alternate.
Right.
And we'd work that in. And so work through that process to make sure the building meets code, meets all the federal and state requirements, but still is functional for staff. And that was our main goal, is to have a functioning new OR suite that allows the patients to come in, allows them that privacy, no more wheeling down the public corridor, get your surgery. It allows us to, our surgeons are so excited because now they're getting state-of-the-art size of rooms, the equipment that can be accommodated, and not have to be shuffling things around like they do now. So they can provide that care that Grande is really proud to do, for our patients in town.
Well, and I'm sure that from you and I have talked about it just a little bit before, how important it is when you're trying to provide a space, in your particular case, or a building or a facility for extreme professional surgeons.
Yes.
Who their work is really critical. How satisfying it is to be able to hear from them directly and to be able to kind of match the pieces together.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
been, I know more now about what a surgeon does in his day
Yeah.
than I ever would have dreamed of, and what a person that works in central sterile does.
Right.
It's been really enlightening for me, and it's going to allow me in the long run to do a better job because I really understand their jobs better.
Right.
Because we really delved into, okay, what do you do? What's your processes? And they've got so many things that they do to strive to come out, like Central Sterile, to come out with sterile instruments that the surgeons use. And how do they use them? And what process do they get them from being dirty to clean?
Right.
And so that whole process, I can now support them even so much better just day to day after we're done, because I know their job's so much better. And that's been fun. I really enjoyed that.
Well, and people, I'm mechanical. I know you are too. Yeah. And you just think differently.
We do.
You think more practically in
Right.
some way or another, and so I'm sure that somewhere along the line, as people have told the processes of what they do, you said, well, wouldn't it be easier to just go this to this? And then, yes, I mean,
There has been some of that there.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of it has come from the spaces they're working in are so tight
Right.
that they've just got it done. They've not thought about they're so pressed to get it done in that little cramped space. When we've had CPS for one day, we have their space laid out, and she goes, "Well, I just do this back and forth," and I went, "That's 20 feet." She goes, "No way."
Yeah.
Because their space is so
Right.
cramped now, they just couldn't get the concept that from that table to that table was now going to be 20 feet. Well, we need to change that process, because you don't want to walk back and forth 50 times 20 feet in a day if you can do it in 2 feet.
Right. Right.
So we were able to change their process to make it easier on their bodies and to make them more efficient.
Right.
And that's been fun to watch the enlightenment and come to them, because we built mock-ups, because a lot of folks can't look at drawings on the
You
line
got to
and
see
say,
it. It's like, oh,
yeah,
that's
it's like,
10
oh,
feet.
that's 10 feet is that. Oh my gosh,
Right. Right.
So that's been a learning curve on our part, is how do we convey that? Like we did it with mock-ups, we did it with a lot of spatial things. So they really got the concept of, oh, I've got all this elbow room. That's going to allow me to do this,
Right.
where I couldn't before. And so they're all excited, and we're excited for them.
Wow. Well, that's cool. How did you? I guess where I was getting to is, are there times when you feel like this is over my head? I'm overwhelmed. I mean,
Not really, because I have experts to tap.
right. Okay.
Our architects, they only do healthcare.
Yeah.
So we've tapped on, well, what did you do at other places? And so even beyond the facilities that we visited, we've got the healthcare, and our construction team does healthcare.
Yeah.
So they also have come up with ideas that we just did a huge, we got the design done. And so we just did a huge going through it. We call it value engineering. And we went through and we looked at things that we had come up with, from the design team to the architectural to the construction team. And we VE'd out, value engineered about $5 million. And it was very simple things. There was going to be a wall of glass. Well, that wall of glass, because of where it was located, had to be fire rated. We talked to the fire marshal and said, what if we just ran the sprinklers close to it? And if the building was on fire, if the water hit the glass, would that count? Oh yeah, that'll work. Well, boom, now we don't have to have fire rated glass. We just have the sprinkler system taking care of that.
Right.
That was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And so we looked at every component that we put in there, and is there ways to not sacrifice anything on the building, both function and looks, but do it more economically.
Right.
And so that's what we've done.
Wow.
We went through but we've not sacrificed function. We've not, from my heart as a facilities person, we've not sacrificed how do I maintain it later.
Right.
Because you can build something really nice, but it's hard to maintain. That just hurts you in the long run.
Right.
So we didn't sacrifice any of that, but we were able to, just by talking it through, be able to curb some expenses, which is always good.
Right. Wow. That's awesome. My son-in-law is a project engineer in Portland.
Okay.
And he was working for PSU at the time, and they were building a big building in the middle of COVID. And
always a challenge.
Yeah, and since most of them were remote as they're doing this thing, they missed that
Hands-on.
ability to be
Yeah.
collaborative, you know, to
Yes.
overhear, oh, that light fixture is going to be in the way of the projector that's going to go, you know,
Yep.
and so
I know it is. It's all real.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's really cool that you can work
And
with
that is one of the reasons we didn't design it and then bring on the contractor.
Yeah,
We've had the contractor at the table because he says things like that. Guys, if you put that beam there, your airflow can't go through this way.
right,
Oh
right,
yeah, okay. Because a lot of your architects, you know, if you don't have that hands-on as
right,
much,
right.
it makes a difference. And so it's been a very collaborative, and there's actually software down now that just meshes it all together. But it's wild to see on screen. But you can say, oh, that's going to bump into this, so let's do this first, and then put in that piece,
Wow.
and that'll allow so the sequencing of the trades when they come in, plumbing, mechanical, electrical, is all based on a already thought out plan. So they're not, you know, the guy doesn't put up the sheetrock and then the electrician shows up.
Right, right.
We're not going to do that.
Right.
We're building it smart so that each contractor gets in there, is able to have his space, gets his stuff done correctly. And that's why you see all the activity on the hill, because we thought out, okay, we've got a big traco here. What things can he do? Oh, he can build the thing on the hill. He can also get ready for the soldier piles. He can build a pad for this, you know. So we're doing multiple things with that piece of equipment instead of bringing it back 3 different times.
Right.
And again, bringing what we call lean management and lean construction also helps the bottom line.
Yeah, cool. And you had to build a road.
We did. Yeah, where all those plants were at, there's now a road.
Right, yeah.
Who would have thought you could put a road in
Yeah,
there?
to get all that equipment up there.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And we're so grateful to the city for giving us Sunset, because that has that's had a huge impact on the project, to be able to not worry about trying to get traffic past there, keep people safe, and allowing us that space to move that kind of equipment around, because we've got the heavy lifter is still coming. We've got the huge crane that'll be here in a month to start lifting, but
Wow.
it's pretty massive equipment that's there right now.
So then you're hoping to have the foundation poured, all of that's going to happen soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
The goal is to hopefully winter will be polite to us, and we'll get it all in, and then right now the schedule is to have the roof on by spring.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So then we can start working on the inside.
Right. And I think Jeremy told me that when the building does come in, it's kind of coming in chunks.
It is. It's kind of like Lincoln Logs or Legos. You know? There's going to be the steel is what they call Connectex, and it will shorten the erection time by months.
Wow.
You know, it'll go up in a couple of weeks because it's all prefabbed, and they just bring it in and start putting it together.
Wow.
So it's going to be fascinating to watch. We do have a camera on it, so we'll have a great time lapse when we're done.
Right.
To watch everything from the construction to the resurrection of the new building. It's going to be fun.
Well, very cool. Well, Elaine, thanks for coming today.
You're welcome.
And it's always, you and I have a lot in common, and so it's easy for us to talk, and I appreciate the job that you do. I know that before all of this construction, you have managed all of these
professionals
and their spacing and moving this person here so that you can do this. You know, I mean,
yeah, we do. We move a lot of folks. But
yeah, I know there's a ton of juggling.
There is.
Yeah, one of the surgeons playing Tetris. Yeah, that's what, you know, I mean, he described it the best. Yeah, and I know that you do a lot of that with facilities.
We do, and our goal is always that patient is first,
right.
And how do we make things function in the background, and
right.
And sometimes we get pretty creative, but I'm really blessed to have a team that they do some wonderful things, so we get it done.
Good. All righty. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll be right back right after this.
Want to keep yourself informed with relevant news and events in Eastern Oregon but don't have much time on your hands? Well, here on EOA Live, we pay attention to what's happening in Eastern Oregon and deliver the news in 2 minutes or less on our evening news roundup. You can expect to get your news delivered right to your Facebook and Instagram feed every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. We'll keep you in tune with Eastern Oregon, and you can count on that. EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Now on Roku.
All right. Thanks, Eastern Oregon, for tuning back in. Always a good conversation with Elaine. Appreciate you taking the time to be a part of that. Couple of things I want to tell you. One is there's a golf tournament. This is not a very good flyer, but there's the breast cancer awareness golf tournament that's happening. And be sure and check that out. Be a part of that. I'm sure you can find an easier to read flyer out there. And then also watch for Gabe's second annual winter outlook, which is going to drop this Friday, the 30th. So before we go, I just want to just take a minute to talk to you guys about something that I've been thinking about. And we're in the middle of the political season, and like always, it can get ugly and nasty from time to time. And I guess I'm specifically thinking about our local elections. I've been recording the Grande City Council meetings for over 10 years, been to every one of them, gotten to know all of the city councilors, been acquainted with them. I've seen them think and make decisions and vote. And the thing I want to talk about for just a minute is that our local elections are nonpartisan, and they're nonpartisan because we're small. It's just the city council. There isn't room in our structure, and there are not issues in our structure that need to be Democrat or Republican. Now, I know that over the course of the years, it's become a little bit more testy from time to time, and there has been some polarization. I mean, there's been polarization everywhere, and that has affected us, and that has finally come down to where there's polarization even in our little old LaGrande City Council. I mean, not in the city council itself. I know those folks. But there is a polarization that is happening in the election process. And just frankly, it's not appetizing and it's not fitting. Now, you might not agree with me, and that's just fine. There's room to do that. But I would tell you that, I mean, I know these people. And at the end of the day, the people that I have seen elected over and over again, the one thing that they care about the very most is not their particular political persuasion. And I've seen people on both sides of the aisle. What they care about is LaGrande. What they care about is the LaGrande people and making things better. And along with that, I would tell you that running a city is way more complicated than you can ever imagine. I mean, as I think about the different issues that I see arise, how quickly we plow the roads when it snows, how well we take care of the roads, that need repair. I mean, the infrastructure part of what happens in the city of LaGrande is complicated. And I know Kyle Carpenter personally. He's the public works director. He's a very sharp, intelligent person. And when it boils right down, what he would tell you is that, hey, if you want better prices on your sewer, if you want better roads, if you want the roads, if you want the snow removed faster, it all comes down to money. It all comes down to that. They have a budget. They're trying to stay within that budget every year. And so then that requires that there be a standard when they plow the roads. Now, that's just one example. I mean, you take Mike Boquist in the planning area. Okay. Mike is a very sharp, intelligent person. I've worked with him personally. There are times that him and I have had intense conversations because we disagreed or because I was frustrated. But I can tell you that at the end of the day, Mike is there to try and help you build your project, and he wants to do that while doing his job, but he's still trying to get you through the hoops because that's his job. Job is to make sure that your building is built or whatever the case might be, and that the city ordinances and standards continue to remain. And they're there for a purpose. Now, all of that to say this, that anyone who has this idea that we just need to elect new city council people, or we need to elect different city council people so that we can change this or we can change that. Anyone who thinks that, you're just ignorant. And by ignorant, I don't mean that offensive. You're just unaware. You're uninformed. It's not that simple. And, you know, the people who I admire are the people who diligently invest their time in the infrastructure. They become aware, they become knowledgeable, and they figure out how to change the system that we have in a manner that is more friendly, if that's what's required. But the point is that it's not simple. And to say that it is simple, as somebody electing somebody different who has a different persuasion, means that you're just uninformed. And at the end of the day, it's offensive to those people who have dedicated, I mean, literally, there's not a city council member that I know of that doesn't care deeply about the city of Grande. So anyhow, that's my rant. It's just be a little bit more informed. That's all. And when it comes right down to it, the politics part of being of Grande and the city council members or whatever the case might be, it's just not relevant. It does not matter, because the council members that I know and that I meet, at the end of the day, they care about the city of Grande and their residents, and that's what guides their decisions. And when it comes right down to it, those are the kind of people that we want to represent us on the city council. All right. End of rant. So, hey, so this is my best effort to do what Kyle would do. On this day, 1779, John Adams negotiated the Revolutionary War peace terms with Great Britain. That was 1779. And on this day in 1908, Henry Ford's first Model T automobile leaves the plant in Detroit, Michigan. In 1919, pitcher Bob Saki sets then the Yankees record with 15 strikeouts. That's a little shout out for Kyle, because I think that's one he would have chosen. And then in 1982, filming begins on Never Say Never Again, with Sean Connery playing James Bond for the final time. It's kind of funny because when I saw Sean Connery, I mean, when he really became a part on my radar, it was after he had played James Bond. So, all right. And then the quote for the day, Mr. Rogers, there are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first one is to be kind. The second is to be kind. The third is to be kind. Yep. Good stuff. I could not agree more with that. All right. Well, thanks, Eastern Oregon, for being here. Appreciate you taking the time to be with me today. Kyle hopefully will be back with me on Thursday, and we'll talk to you soon.